LiberalViewer presents.
So the bias is always easiest for me to spot on Fox News in stories covering issues in which I've gotten personally involved as an activist, like the story last week on the supposedly straight news program Happening Now, reporting on California's prison realignment program, which Fox News spun as some kind of prison break in the introduction to the story you can see here.
Well, some new information on California's efforts to ease prison overcrowding. Some are calling the plan a state-sanctioned prison break.
Now, supposedly straight news anchor Jenna Lee there never said who supposedly called prison realignment a state-sanctioned prison break, and that description doesn't even make any sense because the prison realignment law doesn't necessarily decrease the length of anyone's sentence. It only sentences some less serious offenders to county jail time instead of state prison time, and it sends some state prison inmates who would have been paroled anyway to county probation officers for supervision instead of state parole officers, but none of those actual descriptions of the effect of the law made it into the Fox News story, which instead gave viewers the sensationalistic misinformation you can see here.
Well, Jenna, California is under a court order to move 33,000 inmates out of the state's prison system to reduce overcrowding. Governor Jerry Brown doesn't want to say he's releasing prisoners early. That's never popular. So he's come up with a new plan to shift responsibility for low-level offenders back to the counties, the local PDs, and sheriff's departments. Problem is, many of those county jails are overcrowded too and are having to release some of their criminals early. From celebrities like Lindsay Lohan, who served just 4 hours of her sentence, to felons like James Lucio and Angel Espinoza, who were back in jail after committing new crimes within days of getting out.
Now, there are two big problems with the Fox News reporting there on county jails having to release some of their criminals early. First, 71% of the people held in California's county jails are awaiting trial, not convicted, and so not criminals, and second, none of the three people Fox News showed there were released because of prison realignment, with Lindsay Lohan's short sentence resulting from pre-existing crowding at the county jail, and with the two other people mentioned, James Bob Lucio and Angel Espinosa, being people who would have been paroled from prison anyway. They were just assigned to county probation officers for supervision instead of state parole officers. But for me, the most misleading part of the story was the way Fox News used that misinformation about who is being released from jail to give viewers the false impression that locking up these low-level offenders is the best way to increase public safety, when in fact all the evidence shows that alternatives to incarceration like drug treatment, counseling, and job services actually increase public safety by reducing recidivism. But Fox News disparaged those evidence-based programs as just a theory in the conclusion of the story here.
Supporters also say that new methods of monitoring and rehabilitation will actually reduce crime from its current historical low. But Jenna, it's a strategy never tried on this scale before, and California needs to shed another 15,000 inmates between now and next summer.
And there can be a difference between theory and reality, but you have to wait and see on this story at least.
Now, the problem with that comment about alternatives to incarceration being just a theory from supposedly straight news anchor Jenna Lee is that the programs described by California's prison realignment law are evidence-based, which is defined in the law itself as, quote, supervision policies, procedures, programs, and practices demonstrated by scientific research to reduce recidivism, unquote. And I'm especially familiar with these evidence-based alternatives to incarceration because I personally advocated for them when my county board of supervisors was deciding on the prison realignment plan for my county last year, where I made the public comment you can see beginning in this clip.
So our new responsibility here in Sacramento County for the non-serious offenders from our local area who would have gone to state prison under the old system is also a new opportunity for us to help the people from our local area with evidence-based community solutions that really work, rather than just warehousing people in prison cells that leave them worse off than when they went in. Warehousing people, whether in state prison or county jail, cuts them off from their homes, their jobs, their families, and all the community connections they'll need to be successful when they get out.
And I even cited specific evidence in this clip.
Treatment programs reduce recidivism between 25 and 50%, and cognitive-based treatments are especially effective. Also, the ACLU report you got a copy of today has an appendix that it has 20 pages of evidence-based alternatives to incarceration with scientific data showing that they work. And the Ascend program that's been proposed was also developed based on intensive scientific studies of what actually works.
So there's a lot more than just theory behind the evidence-based alternatives to incarceration that increase public safety by reducing recidivism, which you can see for yourself by reading that ACLU report from last year that I held up during my public comment there, or by reading even more updated information in last week's ACLU report titled Public Safety Realignment California at a Crossroads, all of which is more accurate than the bad information Fox News reported to try to equate prisons with public safety, I think, but I want to know what you think. Didn't the bad reporting by Fox News about the effects of California's prison realignment make that story more sensational than informational? And for the less serious offenders affected by California's prison realignment, shouldn't California make policies based on the evidence showing alternatives to incarceration increase public safety by reducing recidivism?
I YouTube, you decide.